In Nigeria, the atmosphere seemed clear and devoid of any hanging,
Hanging what? Hanging fruit? Low fruit? If I see any low fruit right now, I'm taking it. I don't care. Listen, I was looking at airline tickets. I don't know who sent me, but I just needed to that trip. And I've convinced myself that maybe it's better in Nigeria, in Abuja. There's no need to travel right now. Because listen, my guy.
Why do you think my last lead was at work? I take him all around the world. I say I was at home. Somebody sent me a message. Yeah, this economy, it will fail all. I say.
My goodness, the rates are crazy. I envy anyone who's traveling right now. Even when you try to book a trip months ahead, it makes no sense. The difference is the same rate or even more expensive than usual, and it just goes to how weak the naira compared to the dollar. You're sitting in an extreme sport because you don't know what you're losing the next day. The money is just making no sense. When you look at it a week after or 2 months after, there's no difference. It's just you are in a fix. It's worrisome. There's no sense of urgency right now.
The thing is, what are we using? What are we using to anything and support the naira? It's not going to be voodoo economy at this point in time where you say, okay, about the effect, you people are calculating, oh, this is the reason why people there is nothing that naira is thriving and working on.
Yeah.
We're still importing petrol. We're using so much hard-earned Forex, if I put it that way, that we don't have enough of to in this refined petrol into the country. How much export do we put out enough to salvage the naira? So if we don't have all of these things in check, it will just be us running around circles, pretending to be doing something, absolutely nothing. So naira is at the mercy of a lot of external factors at this point in time. And that's why you see once it goes as high as 900 and then it comes down, then it goes up again. It's just yo-yoing like a free fall. And depends on where the wind tosses it, that's where we head.
In the past few weeks, it's been going high and high, and it's about 900 right now. And if you try to do an online transaction, assume that the banks would go with the I&E, the rates there, but no, they would go with the 900, the higher one, and it just leads to you losing it more if you're trying to go through online transaction at this point in time. Even the cards, are they working? I was trying to do a transaction. I had to go to 3 platforms and it still did not work. So I had to pay virtual cards. That did not. I went to another platform that did not work. So I thought the CBN had given an instruction that our cards should be able to work online, but that's not happening for some banks at this point in time. So there's so much, and I just see a sense of urgency to focus on what Nigeria is going through. People are struggling, literally. If you get a call right now, it's one of two things. It's either they want to know how you're thriving or how you can help them.
But the thing is, things are still pretty slow. Who is the Minister of Finance in terms of the monetary policy? Who is really in charge? Okay, I know there's someone running the end, but you also, what direction are we heading with our monetary policy and fiscal policy? Because you need them to marry to come up with something to just start the economy, as it were. First, we don't have that. We know there's an economic team and ideas are coming together. Perhaps to give it some time, things crystallizes and see if it will be something new. But we, like pointed out, at the mercy of it all. And you're very correct to say there's no sense of urgency. It's off that way. But there are certain things that you need to put in the work time. It's a slow grind process to eventually get to see some dividend at the end of the day. And I think that's the channel we're going to take. I don't think there's any wand anywhere to just... And
things just change. It will make some sense to have a time to it. Now, experts are predicting that as high as 1,500 naira to it. Imagine those who used to, before now, live on dollar every day. Now they can't even survive mega income they make every now and again. Doesn't make sense anymore. Daily earnings make sense anymore because you can barely use it to buy anything in the markets. Prices have gone off the roof. So everyone is managing either skipping meals or having to work from home, skipping days, not being able to get to work, use transportation. Everything is just neither here nor there. And it begs the question, what exactly are we doing? How long would we have to manage all of this before we get to a point where we can finally live and just enjoy the life that we're meant to enjoy? Nobody in this world to suffer. Especially nobody in Nigeria, to live this kind of life. And why some people say the rich aren't feeling this, they are losing profits every day. Businesses, they're having to shut down their businesses because they can't run it every day on maybe fuel or electricity or being able to pay workers. And now you see that the rate of unemployment increased and the crime rate has also increased as well. I saw over the weekend that a man was thrown out of a vehicle. He got into a one-child vehicle, and those are people who are using drastic measures in the bid to try to survive. Good to think somebody found him and took hospital, but then he was so disoriented he could not say who was. So they had to put up his picture on social media to try to find family members. This happened in Abuja, which some people would say is the safest place in Nigeria. Not really happened to anyone.
Who said Abuja is the safest in Nigeria?
That's what some people feel. Like it's safer than other states.
Like what state is it safer than average?
I wouldn't know.
Like, what is the capital of crime in Nigeria for you to say is safer than, aside from S that have their peculiarity in terms of the sort of security they're grappling with, like the Northeast battery, and then you have the known gunmen and the fallout of the IPOP group imposing Tatoman, constituting exams. Every region seems to have enough on its hands and it's enough for. I don't think anybody can beat their chest and say Abuja is
relatively safe.
No.
You will be, as the seat of power, assume that there will be more measures in place so that at every bus stop or every joint, there are people are ensuring that everyone is safe and going about their business. Now, when it's dark, you're scared to even walk around the city because you don't know who would jump on you and rob you of the little that you're making for yourself. That fear, everyone is living with fear and hope that it doesn't get to them in any way. And I hope that we can get to a point where that is not something we're worried about.
I hope so too. Now, while the government appears distracted with the Niger Republic, the Niger plunged further. Foreign exchange market last week exchanging at a high of 955 naira to $1 on Thursday, and it's spreading the community apprehension amongst Nigerians. Also, the Central Bank of Niger needs to move fast, and that's why you're talking about urgency. It need to get very creative, very pragmatic to losing control of the currency. And if you lose control of the currency, you've totally lost control of the economy altogether. Now, since the president of the CBN to merge the exchange rate 2 months ago with the free flow of the southward descent has accelerated. The twin goal facilitating a realistic rate in the wide arbitrage gap, creating official rate and informal market rate and elusive. At the official exchange rate, $767.7 one gap, and hence for illegal arbitrage race from $100 towards $200. We do not have a very strategic management team. There's no clear direction. No cabinet, like you pointed out, in terms of timeline and the target as to where we're headed. What are the deliberate, orchestrated plan was getting somewhere enough for you to say, in the next 8 months or 2 years, this we're going to hopefully achieve with this. We do not have that altogether. They added that the anxiety last week saying loose fiscal and monetary policy makes it difficult for the naira to stabilize. And that's why if you don't have a minister of finance deal with in terms of the fiscal aspect, that you can come to the roundtable and discuss the monetary and say, what can we do together? Because they need to work hard to achieve certain purpose. So we're at a limbo at the moment. And at the risk of sounding like, okay, well, Femi Adesina is now around, so we're no longer less than hailers. We've moved past there. It's a whole breathe era we're in at the moment. We need to find a way to allow our economy at this point. And it takes a lot of deliberate work that into effect. And I can see why we're a little, paved when this whole Niger came up and we're all rich and all super and all of Africa like, which we are. However, given the fact that our economy is struggling for air and that we're cash-strapped, that we're cutting down some basic necessities to just adjust to the current reality. We cannot afford the luxury of acting have money to throw around, and people are well with their right to say, let's conserve resources and use it wisely within the country. So there's a whole lot why people were let's not be quick to throw in more money commitment in an area that is not productive for us. Our economy is one area where we need to see deliberateness. We need to see swift action. Say if we let things continue on the free flow, crime will escalate. That's direct and immediate response to an economy or a country where there's impoverishment. When the poverty bracket continues to expand, the unemployment rates continue to swell, you definitely have people who need to survive.
With the Niger situation right now, the border closure as well, we see that other states, border towns are also suffering a bit of pain and they're losing funds every day due to that. The government to at least find a way to not necessarily close the border, because Nigerians are also suffering based on the fact that they're not able to interact or do business with Niger. Nigerians are suffering as well. It's great if we're able to find measures, and suffering Nigerians at this point in time, closure is not the best approach. Dialogue should still be in place to ensure that the approach is used to quell the situation, and that war is not the option at all. Which, I mean, the president has gone on to state they are still going through various dialogue options to ensure that the interaction and reach middle ground. Now we've heard that the junta have to ECOWAS that they want to dialogue and have conversations, and they were pissed initially because their side of the story was not heard, and that is why they did not get the opportunity to meet with the representative that they then sent to conversations with them. So.
Well, they're ready for that talk now and see what direction it will steer the ship once they get into negotiations. And I think one of the key areas they're going to is how soon are you going to return to democracy? You know, they're saying that in the same breath. They're saying they're going to charge Bazoum for housing. So it tells you that the sort of end that perhaps ECO was looking for, what the junta is having in plan. Yes, we're going to negotiate what we're not animals. We're ready to sit at a round table and have these talks with you. And nobody says it's going to be a one-off conversation. If it were, ASU would not have gone too many strike when you're negotiating, how negotiations go. So in charge the former president or the ousted president, high treason, whatever it is, the charges against him is left for the world to see and the world to know. But for the dialogue part, of course, is going to say restore back to an administration and to democratically elected government, but they're going to charge him for high treason. It means that's not. Perhaps they will say we're going to have this interim government. We're going to set structures in place. We're going to sanitize the system. Then, like every single military administration in the history of, they will promise that they're going to go back to a civilian administration, conduct and perhaps at a stipulated time. And if they live up to that, well, it's for time to unravel. If not, you will get to Sudan. 1 minute they say we're taking you to civilian administration. And then the next minute, they are fighting themselves as to who controls the
charge.
Yeah. Yes. So the thing you can predict. You never can bank on the words coming from these people.
We also hope that things are not deteriorate from the way they are right now, and that X is also able to live according to his rules and regulations, expectations as well. Because I was thinking about it. It's funny how when President was elected as being in charge of ECOWAS, the chairman of ECOWAS, his speech was around Coup, and after that we saw the coup in Niger. So it's as though did he get a bit of information that was bound to happen?
It's not about information. It's about reading the the entire region fraught with it.
Yeah.
We've had Mali, we have Burkina Faso, we're seeing what's happening in Senegal. You can't call it a coup, however, some sort of bit of political unrest with how it's going, that if you manage it properly, it can go sideways. And then Sudan is not far away. I mean, it's brought our people back, even though it's not in the region. But then it's also something to look at what's really going on in the continent, enough to put two together. So you don't need to be a mathematician to put up in your speech to say, we're going to end coup. But then it was also quite interesting. It just happened to just
a few weeks afterwards.
Sir, I don't know what yet, but we're still going to do it.
Yeah, I hope this goes away because it's been the news and it's affecting everything else.
Yeah.
It's taking it from what Nigerians should be focusing what about government. Because here's the thing, as opposed to people focusing on ECOWAS and decisions they make, everything being blamed on our president. Because we tend to take a bulk of whatever decision is being made or whatever financial implications will be required to send troops on standby. So we just need to find middle ground.
Indeed. Oh, by the way, Roundtable started. It's Kim and Itodo. We've said already with the story. We won't have a guest joining us today, so you can just jump in on the conversation already and let's get to. Instead of talking about the state of the Niger and the fact that we do not have a clear direction of how we're headed to terms of stabilizing the economy, there are a lot of things to work. However, you need to talk about crystal clear economic plan, which is targeted towards a specific end to seeing how we stabilize the Naira, in which we require a lot of production, which we haven't seen that on just yet. The president has talked about in his inauguration speech on how to jumpstart the economy, create employment. So how we move from what he said, achieving it, that's where the miss is at the point in time. We also looked at the Republic situation. The junta has agreed to dialogue and would follow that with keen interest to see how that pans out. The president met former emir of Kano following his meeting with them. But as I said, there should be a standby force. A lot of people are saying do not engage militarily, even though ECO's position is, well, that's not the table. But then, now that they're ready to talk, we're ready to listen and see how that will bring peace to the region. Because attempt to destabilize the Western region, the entire region would, to an extent, feel it. It will cripple business, and not just for the Republic, but you never can tell when things are not managed how bad it will get. So we've looked at that, and then through petrol. You know, just before I told you to give you the details one, I have told myself I will not get emotionally attached to what reads when I'm buying proper litre. Because you know what, the last want is to be heartbroken, and it's not as if you can curse Ipman,
even if you can,
or curse the petrol station or curse the government and hope the curse will hold. The conversation they had earlier on, if it was that easy, oh boy, I've been seeing your curses on Twitter. You cursed the last, you cursed the government before that. you go without your curse. So get very real. But one thing for the marketers are talking about increasing the price.
Oil marketers on Sunday indicated that of the premium motor spirit, popularly petrol, would rise to between 16 naira per litre and 720 litre in the coming weeks should the dollar continue to trade from 910 naira to 90 naira at the parallel market. Also hinted that dealers seeking to import were being forced to put the plans on hold due to the scarcity of foreign exchange to import the commodity. It came barely 1 week after the local currency passed the 900 naira per dollar ceiling, with the naira selling at over 945 naira to a dollar at the market on Friday. Oil said the CBN importers and exporters official window for foreign exchange, which boasts of a lower exchange rate at 740 naira, 740 naira to dollar, had remained liquid, unable to provide the $5 million to $30 million required for the importation of PMS by dealers. This, they said, also led to the suspension of petrol importation by dealers who were eagerly ready to import the commodity. Now, senior officials of major oil dealers spoke in separate interviews that PMS price hike was imminent unless the local currency appreciates in the coming weeks. Now, leaders of the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, and Petroleum Products Retail Outlets owners of Syria also say there was a need for the federal government to intervene to address the crisis. Now, the National Public Relations Officer of the IPMA, if Chinedu Okadike, explained that the price of petrol was now the fluctuations in Forex. Hence, Nigerians should expect like soon. How soon? That much is said, but just prepare your mind.
That's one thing. It's called a head, so you don't have panic attack or start to hear it's going up the next day. Give enough heads up to say that. You know what? This brings us back to the conversation. I know a lot of people would say, yeah, we need to rip off the bandage. We need to get rid of subsidy. But among lone voices crying out in that people like Majid, they're saying this. But Majid's solid argument is you government all over the world subsidizes, so no rationale whatsoever to remove subsidy when you should be proactive enough to dealing with the corruption in the subsidy system and ensure that we're getting the right amount subsidized, staying within the walls of the country and not small to other countries. And then there are other critics who will tell you, if we had, and that is even back to the 2012 Occupy Niger, what was the solid demand against removing subsidy back then? It was you do not have a national refinery. You do not have some of this in place. Perhaps if you did, it makes sense. Then you prepare the ground, get there. But we're here, down the road after that. Yes, they talk about our refineries. I mean, that's the reason why they had to seize their sword and suspend the protest to saying Port Harcourt refinery will be working by December. The refinery somehow, somewhere, some soon would work.
Well, August is not over.
Yeah. It will be December. December might just be March here, but at least fingers anytime soon we'll have that refinery out producing a significant amount of money. And it doesn't matter what MPC Limited is saying, I'm not changing the price, but you bring some sort of stability in the price in the country such that you're not going to wake up every morning and be wondering where the wind blows in terms of the price per litre, because and we don't have to depend so much on Forex in terms of what we're bringing out, the volume of it. We have sufficient, maybe not sufficient for the entire country, but we have a reasonable amount that we can ride. It keeps the Forex demand to a minimal level in that regard. So that's one area where if we had thought it through to say, all right, we're removing this. However, we've put these measures in place so that when we remove it, if it's absolutely necessary and the government says they can convince people beyond reason that they cannot fight the corruption in the system, and we accept that it's difficult for them if we get there. Remove it. But then we put the cat before the horse and removed it, and now we want to fix others. And then looking for intervention and palliative to addressing something that was done before all of this. I think that's where the critics who are hard on it has got it wrong.
But Melekeri of PCL also said that even if we were to have refinery working in Nigeria, that would not necessarily reduce the price of petrol products.
I hear him, but there's a lot of things that do not add up in my head. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, because we do not arrogate enough. Yes, he's in authority. He's the boss of NNPC. Doesn't mean that every single thing that comes out of it is absolutely correct to the last dot. If it was in terms of policy and what they say, MFLA, they will not be tearing someone's immigration officer shirt over. That's to tell you that government of sometimes, they want to come off as if we have all the answers to this, but it's incorrect. If it was, they would have fixed a lot of the NNPC. Give us exact figures of what fuel, crude,
we're consuming or importing.
This, how much do we import in terms of down to the last precise figures? So if you cannot have NNPC refineries functional under your watch, forgive, I do not take everything you're saying as being absolute to telling me that. And then some of the areas where you say, okay, if you can't fix certain, you need to excuse yourself and let someone do that coming.
Well, we'll just have to hope and pray. I mean, praying right now is the only solution.
You see the bombastic side I gave you when you that?
I just try not to look at you. The only option. That's what we actually thrive right now as Nigerians. We just thrive on positive and praying, hoping that the prayer is a fix. But then with the prayer, we need to put the king as well and hope that things are able to change. And more people lose their lives or lose their means of livelihood bit to survive what the country is currently going through.
I mean, you can't just come to not reduce the price. There's no sense of positivity in what you're saying. Even the impression that even if you had dysfunction,
nothing would change.
It has zero value.
Well,
serious?
That's hard to believe. It's hard to even understand. I mean,
it's very unacceptable.
And it's not him who made that statement. I heard one of the swearing of the president as well. Same thing. That even if we have refineries working across, nothing will change.
Well, it translates to ineptitude, because a lot of things in terms of the value chain when functional refineries. First of all, we'll not even be paying people who do not put in work and getting their paycheck and allowances at the end of the year. Do you know how much we spend running these refineries that refine? At least it would be more if they were refining. 1. 2, there's a lot of products that come with the crude that when we process here that we can do so much with. 3, it makes absolute no sense for a country like Nigeria, one of the largest OPEC exporters of crude oil, have a functional refinery. It's almost empty. I mean, if somebody hears this outside, I would think that Nigeria is not finding petrol. I mean, for the ops, NNPC should not even be telling us change no price. Look at some of the features. Then when we get to that road, and then we're not seeing much different, you can say, okay, this is it, or it's haulage, it's transportation, we have the rail to transport it. It's produced here. We have to ferry it all cost to getting it to Kaduna Refinery. We understand that. But one thing for sure is that you're going to have stability in price. You're not going to have the price change 3 times in 3 months. It would not work that way. And that's what the NNPC is saying.
Now, it might not as low as 100 and like we had it before. But then again, it's going to be a manageable amount that everyone can live on or live with. So let's just wait till December, like the promise, for the Port Harcourt refinery to start working, even though we've seen the danger over and over again. I mean, last year was December last year. It changed now to December 2023. So let's wait, fingers crossed, that's and we'll see what change, if any, at all, brings in terms of the price of the product and what changes to the country. Well,
in all of this, 62% of Nigerians in the survey believe Nigeria will move forward. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the survey was conducted by CMC Connect LLP, the Lagos Public Perception Consulting, strategic communication group. They said that 1,714 participants across the country, 6 geographical zones, took part in the survey and shared their opinions and views concerning the first 3 days of the administration. 38% of the country moving forward under the administration, 62% do. And by large, respondents are less satisfied with the first 60 days of the current administration, but are more optimistic about the country moving forward under the administration. According to the survey, a substantial majority of them showed strong satisfaction with the son of Emefiele and a few other like the EFCC chair. So that's what they are hinging, some of their optimism on. This was done some time back, even though the polls is being shared now. But we can only hope for the best, like you say. I bet if you say we can only hope and pray, and then they will document it as optimistic.
Whereas it's just you're hoping that you don't lose your mind before then. And you don't lose.
Get the
yes.
All right, people. Open up the phone lines. Let's get talking.
You can conversation via our live stream on Facebook at Nigeria in Abuja, and to share your thoughts on the WhatsApp at 0809-30137. You can also call that number or call 0807 0700 951 0000 and 0809 597 We're also on Twitter, Nigeria Info ABJ. Was called X, not Twitter anymore. Yeah, same difference.
Yeah. Matthew Peter Jankasa says, all right, we'll leave that. Facebook, King Clement Achono, it's a personal message to the Sunday. Daniel Emmanuel, price currently is 815 naira per area. What happens when it increases? Call our leaders and give them wise counsel. And also Francis Oga Namani says the looming fresh fuel price hike country is becoming worrisome and unacceptable. The president should kindly do something about it to the suffering of the average Nigerians. God helps, he wrote on Facebook.
Shout out to Kingsley Godwin. Thank you for the compliment. Madiba sees you both. Interesting. Ibere Joseph. And he says, good afternoon. God, it's Monday. The jointers should maintain their stand. I believe it's in a way out of corruption. We need to force wicked leaders out. That's what Anne is saying. Okay. And looking at WhatsApp right now, Tijani Babalola from Kuje says the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, in Abuja, the crime is much more higher because many people into Abuja without any means of livelihood. Area boys have taken over our motorparks. Agbero hotels are in all stops harassing innocent drivers and motorists. Kerry is saying that refineries won't change PM's price. That's a big lie. The man is okay. Joe in Mara saying he doesn't believe that's what it is. And Obedient Eka says, I beg to disagree with you that not everybody is focusing on Niger Republic and ECOWAS and Niger Republic shenanigans. Because as for me, all eyes are on the judiciary to do full and save us from APC. Please, well, it was not active when military took over power in Mali and Burkina Faso. If they are sleeping, then where are they? Please, what are they doing? Different mirages of problems debating the ECOWAS sub-region. I said that the insecurities in West Africa are being sponsored by some political class. It fell on deaf ears. Nothing is being done about that. As for the purported increment of petrol price, it's a welcome development because this is what you get when we practice local politics in Nigeria. We are all in it, no adding, no subtracting. Obedient man maker. Does not allow impunity to continue in Nigeria and in the okay, I'm not sure this is for us because it's a different subject entirely. Chemo, them don't remove, though now everybody's talking, you don't joke. None so from Dawaki. Well. And Banky says the progression is negative for the country to stop them if we want progress, peace in Nigeria. No cursing, only speak positive words. When the clouds are full, what will happen? Yeah. Lodadi Abiodun says, we're all saying no to invasion in Niger. President should please save Nigeria economy. And AB in Kubwa says the hardship in the country right now is becoming unbearable. A young man was ambushed by phone snatchers in my area, Kubwa, a few days ago, and they used a knife on his hand to make sure the phone from him. This has happened in my area before. When are we going to breathe in this country? Is the question that Sam is asking.
All right, let's hear your thoughts via telephone 0700 951 0000 0809 974 or you can call via WhatsApp on 09 993017.
Good afternoon. Hello. We can barely do as a callback. Good
afternoon. Kimberly and big brother.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Succumbs calling you from Karimu.
Go ahead.
Please, I don't want to talk about the headlines. I just want to remind witness today.
You actually leave that for 6:15, except an emergency. We have a time for that, sir. Time for the roundtable.
It's an emergency, please.
Okay.
Kimberly.
What's the emergency, sir?
Yeah, it's an emergency.
What is?
They do one of our taxi drivers. They just one of our taxi drivers captured the man parked at 26. He took the car away. I mean, he's just crying over there. I don't even know what to do. We try to reach some of the radio stations to see can pass the information across.
They stole his car?
Yeah, they stole the car. Just under 5 minutes, the car under 5 minutes, they took it away. Because everybody was running because of tax. They said tax force is coming and everybody started running. I ran to Zosis and park the car there. If it's getting back there, they have taken the car away.
So he doesn't know if it's the tax force people that removed it or a thief stole it?
Yeah, it's thief.
Oh, that's sad. Well, the one thing to do is to report the case to the police almost immediately.
Okay.
The report to the police. I mean, the nearest police on the document, valid information, color, document, black, white, and they will take it up from there. That's pretty bad, actually. And we're talking about theft crime spiking. So these are some of the faults. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon.
Darling, good afternoon. Happy week.
William, welcome. Even though your line isn't so cool, hope it improves.
You see,
Sir, you would have to back, please. It's really, fuzzy. We can't make out what you're saying.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Itodo.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Kimberly.
Go ahead.
Preparing mind for talks ahead. We may carry a monopoly. It's a head of a commodity, but we face with monopolism that there will not be changed if it is even deregulated. We have seen how the regulation works in telecommunication, where we have different companies coming and investing into economy. It creates business opportunity. It expands the market. Why cannot we apply it in our petroleum industry? They continue imprisoning us with our own wealth and our resources. And coming to issues like Nigeria or ECOWAS intervention in Niger, we thank God clergymen intervene. In global world of today, you can't strengthen any country, no matter how small they are. They are sovereign states. They cut off their powers. Then another North African country, Algeria, is offering them to subsidize electrical supply. So it's better we live in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
You're welcome. What's your name?
My name is Over calling from Isama.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. On this discussing dollars. For me, I think the government should make a policy that will ensure that as an individual, you don't hold beyond some certain amount of dollars in your hand. And as an organization, there's a certain amount of dollars you can hold. Or here you go and open your dollar account and put your dollars there. Because we have more dollars in hands of people that are idle. We have more speculators, people that just, it has gone. There's no any immediate thing government can do. This flow thing will continue going rocketed. If people are finding a way of trying to save their money in dollars, if contractors are finding a way of trying to buy their way out with dollars, so there is more pressure dollars. Make a provision flow that if you have some small that some type of money in your hand.
How much too much to hold on to? How much in your opinion?
Hello?
How much opinion?
You say?
You have a certain amount in your possession, saying what in your opinion?
As an individual, if you cannot travel, if you want to travel out of this country,
you can't take more than 8,000.
Need to take beyond $5,000. Hello?
Yeah, well,
is it 5,000?
Moving out of this country, there's a limit to what you can hold the foreign currency when you are going to another country. I think as an individual in our country, we should have a certain amount of our hold at hand, because
it's just from 1,000 you have to declare.
What should you have?
From 1,000 you have to declare. Then when you have a certain amount, you can't hold on to it. Moving out. So you're saying, what are you that as a standard? You can't have more than $10,000 or $5,000 in possession. That should be the cap.
Doing what with it?
No. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that's what you're suggesting.
Yes, this thing. You can cut this.
But do you honestly believe that there's the one singular reason why Naira is falling? Because some people have more that you think should be the benchmark in their possession?
No, I don't say that's the singular problem that is causing.
Okay.
That's what our crude oil supplier has decreased. Almost like 50%. We don't have more money because we have more things. We have deficit in our balance sheet. We import more than we export in almost all the countries that we trade, except maybe in another country. But is it China? Is it US? Where we import, our export, the deficit is too high. So if you cannot find this kind of those things, I will have to substitute. Foreign products for local. If there is a substitute for local products, instead of buying raw material with dollars, if this thing can be substituted locally, government should put an incentive into those kind of places.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that's the old, but now it's like immediate thing we need. Really.
All right.
We have more dreamers in our politicians, people, speculators, other people, and this is how I do.
But
cannot affect it.
All right, thank you very much. I respect your point of view, argument you brought forward. But isn't that what Emefiele tried with speculators who build the change and all of that? And fell flat on his face eventually. Because there's things you need to do. The real core of the issue, will continue to shadows over substance as to what the real issues are to make people into this hoarding spree. And I want to more and more people are hoarding.
Hoping that it goes off the roof
now.
and they're able to sell it.
Yeah. More people would, if you have dollars in your position, you want to keep them. You want to keep, like, winter is coming, stash up like a squirrel. But what is responsible with that? What's the trigger? There's something triggering this mad rush to hold on to what, because you put them in the bank and next thing to exit at the end of the day, transaction becomes illegal. So there are a lot of policy issues that can trigger responses of this nature. So how we would go about this direction you want, which is brilliant, however, executing it at the huddle there to say, okay, you can't have more certain amount of money. Right. Is it in the end point of transaction? People would be $1 of that benchmark. They will find a way to be.
But we know how that has affected areas generally, where there was a limit to using cards to perform a transaction. Yeah. That did not happen. Law could not even do that, and they had to look for other ways. And that, some experts have said, contributed to what we are going through right now. There's also the issue of businesses going to buy dollars, CBH, then going to float the market and trying to sell the BDCs. So that also is said to have affected it. So there are various, what's it called right now? There are various factors that have contributed to. If we start producing and finding a way to boost and make it appreciate, we'll continue to run around this circle of what it is with the dollar that is in circulation hoarded. It's the same thing when we came with the Naira resign. The minute you create that rule of scarcity, people are going to hoard. It's almost instinctual response. It's like a flight or freeze situation, kind of response to fear when it hits. That's it. You get a policy and you get immediate response, almost predictable. You don't need rocket science. It's not rocket science at this point in time. When you did Naira, it became scarce. People started holding new currency. People start trading currency because you have appreciated the black market value of it. The minute it becomes difficult to access Forex on the end, people will hoard. People would speculate. People will cause the value to appreciate. Squeezing the life out of your Naira because nothing your Naira is thriving on per se. Speaking of hoarding, I had gone to a operator to withdraw some money, and interestingly, half of the money I got was a new 500 Naira note.
They have money.
It smelled funny. So I had to ask, what does this money smell funny? It's brand new. It's sure brand new. What does it smell like? It's been stored and hidden for a long time. And she just laughed. I'm like, it means that a lot of people are still hiding the new Naira notes because you don't even get to see as often as you would. And the hope is that after December of this year, we'll be able to transition that or backtrack to the old one using before we design the Naira note. So there's no.
No, but what we've been saying now is they're going to gradually phase out the old Naira, which have been the smart thing to do for the jump beyond squeeze all of our necks with their knees. With that policy that came out, since that was purely political, and people called it out the minute reduced it. All you needed to do, yes, the big plan is to come the currency in circulation that is not going through financial market. What the big end goal is still not clear. But they say, oh, we have so amount of out there, but just a tiny percentage go through the financial system. We want to rake it in and ensure that we can monitor the flow through the financial system. In a country where there's no financial inclusivity, a critical mass of your population is still off that grid. That is one. There needs to be strong campaign to have more financial inclusivity, enough for you to even bring that on in the sun. It's a lot, it's haphazard. I mean, that's why everybody wants to arrest Emefiele. Sometimes, employees...
But is he to blame for everything that Nigerians are going through right now?
Was the CBN?
He was. Is he totally to blame? Because there's a network of everyone
then you should call the person who point fingers. You should tell us who blame.
Well, you know who would tell us him. He had a boss.
Who, the former president?
Yes.
The former president, he can't run to Niger. So you should tell us. Go and meet him. Then go and meet him. We'll disturb. Can't run anywhere. There's a coup in Niger, so you go there.
And I'm expecting him to say something on the Niger situation. I've not necessarily had any thoughts being shot him on what could be done. Approach should be taken, or maybe even volunteer to go on there and mediate the situation.
A former person who worked a civilian administration himself.
People change. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's definitely will not be a good strategy because they'll remind in the 80s you did this. And then if you do it now, we'll get to a future where will transition and have one of these military dictators become a civil administrator. I mean, for the optics, it's not a person to send there.
Okay. Ekpeyong Okoho say he's complimenting you, Kim. And Asu Peter is asking, what's the president saying about the palliatives? Why the silence? And how long shall we continue to wait? What committee are they saying on the minimum wage is a question that Asu Peter is asking right now. Well, we'll have to wait. I know NLC gave us August 19th as the deadline to the negotiation. So that's in a few days to know what the way forward is. And Dr. Adikwa says, if we stop importing fuel and we are refining within the country, are we going to have a strong Naira? Yes. So stop importing fuel completely. When you wake up, look inward and encourage productive ventures. And Hammers World from Lugbe says, let's all enjoy Nigeria. Nobody should complain. Let's give the current administration 15 years. We'll fix Nigeria. 15 years. And please, our leaders have all those ideas to solve Nigeria's issues. The reality is that they will never do it. Let's enjoy what we requested for, is what Hammers World is saying. And Kui in Canada says, Kim, we're ready. The exchange rate is a core to balance of trade. I thought it made it his mandate to make Nigeria a production nation. Why did Nigerians speak in one voice to support someone who, in my opinion, understands the economic issues of the country? But an alternative opinion has now led us in a bad place. I like we will deal with our choices, is saying. Where is Buhari in all of this brouhaha in Niger is a question that was in Area 10 is asking. All right, Hafsa, thank you for the conversation. Ladan from Airport says, please, it's a week now that the taxi driver is yet to return lost bags. The items are valuable to me. Please help me announce it again. Okay, for somebody she lost her bag on a trip from the airport to Force Base last week, Monday at 1:40 p.m. And the item include 8 cards, company ID, company uniform, jackets, a handful of personal items as well. Laden Airport Road. Have you reported to the police station or the area where that happened? I'm sure hopefully the taxi driver is honest enough to go to the police station to get to you or contact you. So fingers crossed to find it, Laden. We have some time for more messages. Okay. And this is, so all the razzmatazz about the refinery has died out? Chidi is asking to know. 62%.
No, technically it hasn't. Dangote refinery is as real as the air you breathe. It's just that when we start breathing it, when we know.
Yeah. 62, Bola Tinubu. I saw trending on Twitter and I just walked past it, not wanting to get vexed. The Nigerian Institute who and who? Is it Nigerians crying soaring food prices and the free fall of the dollar? Good try by the presidency. We know what we see. Charles Mbat. How was your weekend? Well, it still feels like the weekend, but thank you for asking, Miriam. The weekend, Kim, Miriam is asking. Please, the federal government forces CBN to float the Naira, and how long the Naira be afloat? On the refinery and subsidy removal, it's biting hard on Nigerians as they go by. I want to know if Melekaris was a permanent one because I feel he should be changed. Mefilia Abawa, no story from their case file. What's going on? On the constant rise of the dollar to the Naira, I think the federal government considered this unification of the dollar because market forces are taking advantage. Dorothy from Coup. Kim?
And Comrade Chris Madala says, continued rise of petrol products to this administration should be circumvented by doing something positive. In on renewed hopelessness. Okay. Well, it comes to giving Nigerians more bitter pills to swallow. It is being stretched to an unbearable limit. This administration should be more passionate about the right of Nigerians more than their plenary holiday allowances. God is watching. In a statistical survey of public opinion, there's a significant proportion, about 30% undecided or do not have an opinion. 62%, 38% is as fixed dollar bill. Very best administration, Dr. Pete from Asoko Road. And I think that you would have told the man to give the name, color, model, registration number of the vehicle so that listeners can watch out even as they proceed to the station. My opinion, Emmanuel Bassan, Airport Road. And I don't impending fuel increase. Okay, noted. I understand the kind of people at the helm of affairs country. How can an NPC boss say even if our refineries are working, the fuel price will still be high? Who do us this? If our refineries are working, we'll not be buying crude to service it, but we produce the crude here. We can only be talking of production cut margin or cost margin, which will be far less than what we import now. Please let our refineries work up the crisis in the fuel in GK from Apple. Great conversation out there. Could Kim Itodo from Hafsat. And Hafsat said, interesting talk, really appreciate. All right, just general. Thank you, Hafsat. And from Airport Road says, Nigeria info for the week now. We read that. What else? From Itama concerning the hike in PM respect to the dollar. I always maintain that the price of crude since 2016 has been $10 per barrel, and the price of PM per barrel or litre hasn't been told to Nigeria. Rather, the total consumption of Nigeria, the NNPCL, faithful enough to give. The only policy that would give hope is to increase the digit of the naira, which the Ghanaians did, and the economy is boom. You're saying devalue the naira?
Is it really boom?
Which the Ghana that just came out of a recession is struggling with itself. Maybe not, but you see measures. However, to that you decrease the digit of the naira, and what will not have 1,000. If you decrease it and you have only 1 naira, 2 naira, 5 naira, 10 naira note, that means you'll be taking 1 million to go and buy 1 mudu of Gary. It is not by that, my brother. Ask them in Zimbabwe if that's how it works.
Wow.
Or Lebanon, or Venezuela, where you buy bread in millions.
My goodness. That's not where I want to go right now.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good option at this point. We need to break for the news, Lee. But let's see if we have any more Facebook messages or reactions from you.
You read Barrister Hassan says, good afternoon. I appreciate the survey carried out and evaluate President Tinubu's performance. So first, the importance of collective governance, the virtues of fair hearing. Don't condemn until you've heard both sides of the story, says Barrister Hassan. And in the day of Dr. Okonjo-Iweala as Minister of Finance and Co-Team Minister of the Economy, she strongly advised that Nigeria should save for a time like this. The likes of Adams or Shomolo for those states, Miami and Major River State fought hard to a standstill, insisting that there was no need for savings. Earlier this month, the said president made a very serious issue by asking those who want the poor to breathe should indicate by voice affirmation, and all of them laughing as if that was not enough. The same SP announced to the whole world the account of the senators have been credited to enable them enjoy their holiday. And that is not yet 90 days at does a new employee vacation so quickly? We have this type of leadership at a time like this body. Empress and the Deacon. Rabah, we see you. Thank you very much. And if you wanted close to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please inform that we have the mandate to provide a big idea to end our economic complications. The big cannot and have never been produced so on the strength of conventional expertise, because the economy is not a field of specialty and therefore has no expert. Only God chooses those who provide the big idea when the country needs it. He's choosing us to provide for Nigeria, and we're ready to give it for free charge. Emmanuel Maraba. Interesting.
Big one is here. News. Abuja today. We'll go on that break, and when we come back, the Roundtable news.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. Coup. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Hard Facts. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria